everyone, and welcome into the off season. We are up here at Hallis Hall this week because it is the start of rookie minicamp, and this week we are joined by the Athletics' Kevin Fishbain. We just watched the first practice, and we're kind of joking because we're like, oh, what were your observations? And there's just not much going on the field. Austin Reed is the quarterback. Colston Loveland's off to the sidelines as he's rehabbing back from shoulder surgery. But I guess as you're kind of taking everything in, what are you looking at over the next 3 days?
One thing about rookie minicamp is you see a pretty wide gap in talent, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have Luther Burden, Ozzy Trapilo, Shamar Turner, these second-round picks, and you have these rookie minicamp tryout guys who, unfortunately, probably never going to play football again, or big-time football again. This is their one chance to try to make the team. So you have these second-round picks who are going to look extra fast, extra big and strong out there against some of these players. And it's a great opportunity for them to kind of get used to the style of practice and get used to the coaching staff and what they need to do, because when the veterans come in, then they're not going to be the fastest and the strongest guys out there. So I was kind of, you want to watch the draft picks, you want to see how they look and how they move. So it's kind of fun to see Luther Burden out there a little bit, see Shamar Turner, and you kind of, Ozzy Trapilo's size, I mean, right. It stands
6'8".
out to you right away, seeing him in there at tackle. So that's some of the things you're looking for. You're never going to really come away with anything crazy. You just want everyone to stay healthy this time of year.
Yeah, so looking at it big picture-wise, Ozzy Trapilo is going to be a huge storyline this entire offseason. Ryan Poles said he's going to get reps at left tackle. We know Braxton Jones is coming back from ankle surgery. We don't know if Karan Amagaji is going to be ready to play left tackle if Braxton Jones isn't ready to go. You hear him talk about, he played it in his first season at Boston College, then he moved to the right side, but always trying to stay ready if he did have to flip sides. What were your takeaways from his approach to his opportunity come this offseason?
Yeah, that was really interesting the way he explained, the live reps are so important. He's taken so many live reps at right tackle, so it's going to be interesting for him to get those live reps at left tackle as well, just to get used to it. I was thinking back, Cassie, 3 years ago, Braxton Jones used OTAs and minicamp to kind of win the left tackle job before pads even came on. When they got to training camp, he was the guy already as a 5th-round pick out of Southern Utah. So now you have Ozzy Trapilo, who's a 2nd-round pick from Boston College. He's got this opportunity with no pads to show in the classroom, to show on the field that he has what it takes to maybe win that job. I think when you use a 2nd-round pick on somebody, yes, a backup swing tackle is valuable. That's important. We've seen offensive line injuries all the time. But using that pick on somebody, ideally you want them starting.
Right.
And unless you're moving Darnell right to left side, I think it would be a great situation for Ozzy Trapilo to go out and just go win the job, because then you made a pretty good draft pick. But yeah, I'm very interested to see kind of how he progresses and then what it looks like, obviously with Amagaji on the field as well, because he's going to be another interesting story. He's a 3rd-round pick last year. I don't want anybody writing him off yet, but I do think that Ryan Poles is at least giving himself some options.
You mentioned that Braxton Jones started earning his job in OTAs and such. Ben Johnson came out today and said, hey, pads aren't on, so especially in the trenches, this is not about earning your starting spot or climbing the depth chart right now. It's all about learning in the classroom, taking those concepts onto the practice field. So I thought that was interesting. He's like, no, we're not looking right now. I found that hard to believe at the same time, especially for this guy who we know is super intense. He said you're going to see multiple different personalities from him on the field, that he was like, no, let's take a step back and let these guys just go out there for their first day.
Well, I think it's important for him to lower expectations maybe for all of us.
Yeah.
He doesn't want the media to make a huge deal. Not that the media would ever make a big deal about anything. But it is important to understand what time of year we're in and that the pads are on. But look, if guys are not showing it in the classroom, if guys are not doing the right technique in the field, you'll see them move in different directions of the depth chart. So this stuff is important. So I think he's trying to balance that, where he's not going to put a ton of public emphasis on this, but they're practicing for a reason, right? They're out. If it didn't matter, they wouldn't practice. So I do think that the thing about which is hard sometimes for us at rookie minicamp and OTAs, is a lot of the things that are important we don't know. We don't know what the assignment was they gave Ozzy Trapilo last night. We don't know what the route was that they gave Luther Burden before he went out there today, and the routes that they wanted him to kind of improve on. So those are the things that are important. The coaches discuss them in the classrooms and the meeting rooms the next day and later on tonight when they look at the game film and they look at the practice film. But yeah, there's definitely things they can take, but I do understand the whole mentality of let's not make this bigger than what it actually is.
You mentioned Luther Burden's name. He's an interesting person to hear him speak because he's so confident in himself. And when I was talking to Mizzou head coach Eli Drinkwitz, he's like, this guy often gets misconstrued for being a little bit of an ego guy because he's an introvert deep down. So maybe he's just quiet in nature. But he talked about everyone getting their first day jitters out. And he's like, I don't get nervous. I don't have first day jitters. So I do love the quiet confidence that he carries himself with. And he talked about going into a room of wide receivers, a ton of weapons with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Where do you see him fitting into that mix?
Yeah, going back to what I said about Ozzy, if you're a second round pick, ideally you're out there day one. You're out there week one, and if you're Luther Burden, you are the slot receiver with Rome Odunze on the outside, and DJ Moore is so versatile. I mean, you can line him up anywhere. So I do think it gives Ben Johnson, Declan Doyle, and Antoine Randall a lot of flexibility. But he's fast, good route runner, catches everything thrown his way. I'm very excited to watch it because we talk about what you can see in this time of year. You can notice the wide receivers. You can notice how fast somebody is and how crisp they are with their routes. So, I mean, when you look at his talent and his production, there's a possibility that Luther Burden might be like the best value pick of this draft if you look at this 3, 4, or 5 years from now. There's a possibility that we find out why he dropped to the second round. But still, it's the second round. We talk about this drop, and I understand and I get that he's got this big chip on his shoulder and he wants to use it as motivation. All these teams passed on him. The Bears technically passed on him too in the first round. Not that he was going to go that high, but I like that. I like the personality for that position because the thing is, when you're a rookie and he's going to face these cornerbacks that are veterans, and they're going to make life difficult for him. So it's important for him to have that confidence, and he's definitely one of those guys. I think when we get out here for training camp and you start making your list of guys you're kind of most excited to watch, he's going to be very high on that list.
Yeah, and he said that chip on his shoulder is going to be carried out throughout his entire career, and he's going to make every team pay that passed on him in the draft. When it comes to Colston Loveland, there's only so much you can evaluate with him as he's coming back from surgery right now, off to the sidelines. He said he's in the weight room doing just about everything except for lifting that heavy weight. But Ben Johnson said that tight end is the toughest position to learn on offense outside of quarterback. So a lot of it's mental reps right now. Is there any concern for you of him not being able to be on the field, getting those practice reps even if they are limited in nature of what you can see?
I'm not too concerned. There's a reason he was the number 10 pick. Like, he's going to pick up this stuff pretty quickly, and I think he's going to be a very skilled player on the field. And they have Cole Kmet. Like, that was one of the luxuries the Bears had. People called it a luxury pick. Yeah, the luxury is Colston Loveland does not have to be ready to go today or tomorrow or the first day of OTAs, first day of minicamp. You have Cole Kmet, you have Durham Smythe, you have these guys. Looking at Colston Loveland, the thing that I thought, just like talking to him on the podium, he kind of looks like a wide receiver. Like, it's not to take anything away from what he's going to be able to do on the field as a blocker. He's going to be the tight end, but you do kind of understand and can picture how he fits in with Cole Kmet. He's just not as big as Cole, and that's okay. He can separate from guys, and you can see the mismatches that the Bears want to create with both of them. So, Ben Johnson, you've heard a lot of coaches say about tight end because it's the blocking, it's the catching, it's the route running. There's so many different things for a tight end to learn. But you talk to people at Michigan, you talk to people who've scouted Colston Loveland, like, there are no concerns about him. I mean, it's amazing to have a guy. Like, the only concern about him is the shoulder.
Right.
And when he's going to be ready. But he's going to be ready at some point. So I do think that while it might take him some time, that's why you have Cole Kmet. Week one, maybe Colston Loveland plays 40% of the snaps, and Cole Kmet plays 75. So, you can move those guys around so much. So I don't think it's a concern at all. But you want to be ready for day one of training camp. I think hopefully that's a goal for them. It seems like that's a pretty attainable goal, as you said. He's doing pretty much everything except for playing football right now. So just you can see why they like him, because he's someone you can move into the slot and do a lot of different things with.
Maybe the most interesting thing that was talked about had nothing to do really with rookies, but the Sam position at linebacker and who is going to be the third linebacker for this team, because Ben Johnson mentioned they have Tremaine Edmonds, they have TJ Edwards, who they feel good about, but they're now looking for their third best linebacker in general. Do you believe that player is currently on this roster?
It's a great question, Cassie. It's an interesting position because they're going to be on the field. There are some games they'll be on the field for one snap. Mm-hmm. You noticed that with Jack Sanborn last year. There were times last year the Bears were in the nickel defense so much that Jack Sanborn wasn't out there.
And you want Kyler Gordon out there.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you have Kyler Gordon, that's great. Kyler Gordon can make
play linebacker.
Exactly. He can make a lot of plays like a linebacker. He's one of the best when it comes to tackles for loss and tackles against the run. So look, Ruben Hippolyte is, to me, one of the more fascinating guys because he was a 4th round pick. and he was a guy that so many draft experts didn't have on their list. So a lot of Bears fans are like, well, what are you doing taking this 4th round guy? I've never heard of him. Well, it doesn't matter what the draft experts say. It matters where the Bears have him. It matters where Dennis Allen has him. So ideal world, we keep talking about you want these rookies to play. Ideal world, Ruben Hippolyte is your starting Sam linebacker week 1. Ryan Poles would probably love it too if Noah Sewell gets to, in year 3.
He was, a 4th round pick?
Yeah, if he's healthy. Talk about a guy who coming out of high school is one of the best prospects in the country and looked that way as a freshman in Oregon. But he's just never been able to really stay healthy over the spring and summer. Can he show what he showed earlier in his football career and be that guy? It's not the most important position, but if you had a game tomorrow, your starter is either going to be probably Noah Sewell or Ruben Hippolyte, guys who you have a lot of questions about. So I'm not sure it's a position you really want to need to bring in a veteran, unless, Cassie, that veteran is somebody who's incredible on special teams, because that guy is going to be doing a lot of special teams. And so I think that Richard Hightower is going to probably play a role in this a little bit. And if Ruben Hippolyte's really good on special teams and he does enough on defense for you, again, it just might be 5 snaps a game. What you want, though, because I believe it was Arizona who did this last year. Arizona decided, again, when they played the Bears, they were in their base offense a ton. And they said, you know what, Bears, we want you to have 3 linebackers in the field. And they attacked the Bears. It wasn't necessarily anything against Sanborn, but they had a great game. So the Bears got to be careful if they're going to play a team that does that. They have to feel good about who that strong side linebacker is.
Interesting note there. What about the running back position? That's are they bringing in Nick Chubb? Is J.K. Dobbins an option? Jamal Williams, who has a history with Ben Johnson in Detroit. Kyle Monangai, a lot of people rave about this guy, but he was a 7th round pick, and I don't know if he's the complement to DeAndre Swift in the backfield. Do you believe that he is or can be, or are they going to have to go out and find someone else? Or is it Roschon Johnson?
Okay, I'm trying to be really careful with Kyle Monangai and balance that he is a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
I have never heard more praise about a 7th round pick than I have with him. Just from talking to scouts and coaches, when going through all the draft picks. When I got to him, I'm not expecting to hear it. He's a 7th round pick. But he was really good at Rutgers. He was really productive. I had somebody, call him like a David Montgomery light.
Okay.
Well,
again, that could be a compliment then.
Right, and that's a very, very high bar. And we want to always be careful, because then it goes back to what I said at the beginning, 7th round pick. You got to be very careful with that. But I do think that there is an opportunity for him to be the perfect complement to DeAndre Swift. There is an opportunity for Roschon Johnson. Ryan Poles has been very open about the fact that he was not really utilized the best way last year, and maybe this coaching staff can get more out of him, because you want to talk about somebody else the scouts loved. Roschon Johnson. When the Bears made that draft pick, there was tons of praise in the NFL community for that pick and for what Roschon Johnson could do. So I'm of the belief that they don't need to bring in somebody right now. Look, they're paying DeAndre Swift a lot of money. And you will go back and look at the games the Bears won last year. Go look at DeAndre Swift's stat line. He had some good moments in some of those games. Even the touchdown he had in the loss to Green Bay at home. He had some big moments. So I would like to see them play it out a little bit with Swift. What he looks like in Ben Johnson's offense, as you said, Ben Johnson's familiar with him, and then you have these other guys who can kind of fill in. But so right now, I'd like to see how that plays out, and you can always add a running back at some point if it's just you're not getting that punch enough from the guys you have.
And give the benefit of the doubt to the overhaul of the offensive line, and hopefully that helps assist the run game as well. Every offseason, we're all guilty of buying into all the hype, especially when there's a new head coach and everyone's talking about energy. It's never been this way inside the building. You're laughing. How do you balance, feeling the newness of all of that while also trusting your eyes and what you see and what you know about the history of this team as you go into an offseason?
Cassie, this building is beating me down a little bit. This is my.
But you're ready to come back for another rookie minicamp.
Listen, I think it's my 12th rookie minicamp, and I'm just as excited just to see.
Right.
We spent this entire time. I've talked up all these guys. Ozzy Trapilo could be your day 1 left tackle, and Kyle Monangai is going to be the next David Montgomery. So no, that's the fun of the sport that we cover. It's fun to see these rookies and kind of think about how they can fit in and how this can work. I do think that I've made a lot of comparisons to 2018. I want to be very careful because that was a great year. They went 12-4. But new coach taking over a team that's got a veteran defense with a 2nd-year quarterback, and you added major pieces on offense in the offseason. There's a lot of synergy between those two things. So I do think that it's okay to be excited. I never want to tell a Bears fan not to be excited. I get it and I feel it, and I think because you have this quarterback that has this just ridiculous ceiling, that we didn't come close to seeing last year. I think it's totally okay to talk yourself into all these different pieces fitting and talk yourself into DeAndre Swift finally playing up to his contract and Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet being the next great tight end duo, all those different things. I think it's fine. I think it's fair. And look, all these places are buzzing this time of year because they haven't lost yet. And I think it's okay. I do get why there's excitement. I do think it's okay to look at this team. They should have high expectations. Like, there's too many good players on this team and there's too much on the head. There's too much excitement about the head coach to expect this team to just be, 7-10 and we'll move on for next year. Like, no, this team should compete for the playoffs this season. we got done with the press conference. You listen to all these guys talk after their first practice. I just sat down at our little cubicles and I'm like, wow, Ozzy Trapilo, I bet he's a Pro Bowl left tackle one day. Because it's just like the vibe that he gives off, like very level-headed, obviously smart, been called a technician and all of that. Schedule comes out on Wednesday. I think last time I checked, the over-under was set at 8.5 wins. So given the fact that you are drinking the Kool-Aid, are you going over or under? I'm going over by saying they're going 9-8.
That's what I said too. I'm like, right? It's not like a 12-win season.
As the ball just has to go through the uprights. Doesn't matter how it goes through the uprights. Unfortunately, Bears fans know that well. But yeah, I'll say 9 wins. It's funny though, when you look at that schedule and you go game by game by game, and I'm curious to see how they're structured again, because the NFL seemed to like putting all those division opponents late in the season. If the Bears do that again, or if the NFL does that again, and you can see games with the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings in December, and some of those games are at home, maybe that gives the Bears a little bit of an edge against some of the top teams on their schedule. But yeah, it's hard to find 9 wins when you look at their opponents, but we really don't know. So yeah, I'll hit the over there with 9.
I'm with you right there, but we'll see how this shakes out. It would be fun to have the season start in Philly though. On Thursday Night Football.
That would be very cool. I'd be curious to see if the Bears haven't done well when they've played the first game of late, but yeah, that would be a cool experience.
All right, Kevin Fishbain, thanks for coming on the Offseason. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.